Hello and welcome to Take Note TV. I'm Emerald and joining me today we have the legendary and the lovely Skream.
Hello, my love, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
Good.
I feel like I was a kid last time I saw you.
Was it, I can't figure out whether it's 2 or 3 years ago. It must have been 3.
I think it was 4.
4?
Just based on how much I feel like I was a kid at that time, but it could have been 3 years ago.
Well, you haven't changed a thing.
Oh, thank you, apart from my hair colour. So you've been raving since you were 14, 15 years old, and you've been playing since you were 16?
Legally, yeah, playing since I was 16. Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose that's not legal, is it? I did do some gigs in clubs around that time. I've DJed in like house parties and whatever, and social halls or churches or whatever since I was about 12, 13. But yeah, been outbound for a bit.
Been about?
Yeah.
Been about.
The first gigs were Croydon. I didn't even make the show. I got arrested outside. Not my fault. But the first early shows were like they were just mad. It was the thing because I was doing most of them with Benga. It was still like we still treated it the way that we did house parties or last minute arrivals to clubs where we just took over. So it was, I don't know, they didn't really impact my life because you're with your mate and with all your mates and it's to turn up, everyone's pure hyping it, but there was no difference to just being in someone's house. So it was a really exciting time because you get the stress of just about to leave school. Everyone's nagging at you saying like it's not possible to do what you want to do. There weren't really big money then in the area of music. Like, well, you had certain superstar DJs, but it was a very small, select few. But weren't even aiming to get to there. It weren't like I go to mum and dad like, here's a picture of Cole Cox, like I want to be like him or whatnot. It was just, no, I just want to get out and play tunes. Mm-hmm.
Because it's like the first generation of DJs, right?
But also it was, for us, it was the first proper generation of bedroom producers. And that was, you didn't hear of kids making tunes in their bedroom. It was like you had the big studio and everyone was a lot older than us. Mm-hmm. So it was, it all sort of merged into one. But I thought I was famous, like not famous, but I was like, yeah, I've nailed it, I've made it. I'm going to play at a club on the weekend. Like first gig ever, like proper paid, like 50 quid or whatever. Somewhere.
Big bucks.
It was like, I was like, yeah, fuck, like I was sure that I'd made it then.
How was school life for you at that time? Because you were saying you weren't really going to school and you had to wait for your parents to go out.
They didn't particularly want me. I wasn't a bad kid, but I questioned everything and just didn't particularly enjoy it because you've got to bear in mind, so when I started, it's very alien. You don't really know what crew. Nobody from my primary school went to my secondary school, so it's a whole new start. And I played football, which sort of keeps you in with the people who play football, but then you don't hang about them outside of football, and you don't really know what your stance on life is, especially at like 11, 12. And like everyone seems to know what they want to do, which I really didn't. And sort of my brother was a DJ, and then to that time you get behind the decks, like ways to fucking ruin his records. Didn't know what I was doing with a needle and that. But you just sort of you get to the point where you know, and then by the time I think I was about 14, I can't ever remember. I always say a different age, but when I see a friend making music on Music 2000, I was like, yeah, is it that easy? Sort of thing. But the stuff at school, I was just like, I found it really easy not going. It was like, I used to skip school before the infamous truant officers would be about, and they'd scare you that there's truant officers everywhere and they'll take you back to school. But like there was a point I used to get suspended a lot. But then once it happens once, it's like,
do that
it's
again.
like it's like when you're out and you have a piss, then you got to piss all night. It was after that, after I got one suspension, it just was like dominoes. But it was never for nothing bad. It was never for nothing like horrible to anyone or like any like sort of side of bullying or fighting or anything like that. It was just sort of constantly questioning authority, I guess. Because I always thought, you always feel like you're being lied to as a kid. Because it's like, this is the most important thing of your life. This is the most important thing. And I'm quite glad I question it now, because fucking, depending on where you want to go in life, like they are lying to you to a degree. So like that first exam weren't the most important thing. And I was be like...
No one cares about what you got in GCSEs.
Well, yeah, no, but but pre-GCSEs, like everything leading up, and it's like the stress you're going through, you go through socially at school, it's like, that's the be all and end all. You're like, you're so stressed as a kid. Well, I was to a degree, because you're like, I don't know, it's like so socially based, and you're like...
What's before your GCSEs, your SATs?
Get sat, but then you have one before in I don't know if you do it anymore, because everyone I talk to, I'm talking about the cat skills. You had a thing called cat skills, which was, it was like a pre-exam thing, getting you ready for secondary, and it was always just felt like bollocks. the amount of like, they'd be so hard on you about it.
Unnecessary stress.
Yeah, and it was just like, I'm just like...
Playground monitor, just remember.
Yeah.
Just what the phrase is.
No one I knew who was successful when I was a kid, that older generation was via anything that they learnt from school, sort of thing. Either entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, I'd say. But you know what I mean? Like it was all the successful people around me that live really lavish lifestyles. It weren't because of that.
It wasn't because they were sitting down acing their exams.
And it was, I don't know, they sort of, the school sort of, like, they were just pain in the arse with me, really. I didn't do them that much grief, do you know what I mean? They tried to kick me out once. My mum's a really, really good solicitor. And they had the board of governors come in. And she basically, I don't know what she said to them, but she sent me back to my lesson, because they was asking me to leave on this day. And she said, get back to your lesson. And all the teachers were like, what? And then, I don't know what she said to them in that meeting, but I never got suspended again.
She saved the day. Well done, Mum.
Yeah.
And people associate you a lot with Forward.
Yeah.
What is it that makes Forward so special?
Sarah Lockhart, I think, obviously, you know. Sarah was... Sarah was the catalyst. Sarah and Neil Jaloffi was who started Forward. But I think that special time is because I think what was happening, it was like just a small crew of people. Kids, well, me and Benga were kids, but it was like, you finally had somewhere to play these tunes that you're working on all day, every day, and what became a home. Like, it was you was there once a week. I couldn't go to the first Forward, my mum wouldn't let me. And it was the second one, so once a month on a Tuesday originally, or Wednesday, or maybe Thursday, I can't remember, but it was a weekday. And I was like, I remember saying to my mum, can I go? And she's like, no, you've got school in the morning. And you're like, right. Everyone else is going. She's like, I don't care. And then the next time my brother had to keep an eye on us. So you're like, but it was something magical was happening. Like the Velvet Rooms, when it started at Velvet Rooms, R.I.P. Velvet Rooms, it was but it was just special. The way we were running, it was like we went up there in a limo because it was cheaper than cabs for everyone.
No way.
And like just music, everything was sort of changing. Like the garage was coming to an end because of the police and everything. And the Velvet Rooms especially I really felt like a kid in there. Although it was tiny, but you felt like didn't want to leave your mates, not because it was rough or anything, because it was just something brand new being out. And it was still very much a garage crowd. Still, the music was still very much garage, and so we was all garage kids. And I don't know, it's just Forward. I grew up in there. I grew up in front of everyone in there. It was just magical, really. And then when it moved to Plastic People, it was like even a more suitable home, because you had Ade who owned Plastic People, and the sound system, everything. It was like, it felt like it was made for us. But then little did I know at that time that Plastic People was cool as fuck anyway. You had CDR on the Sunday, I think it was, and it was just a vibe, and we was allowed to feel like we owned the gaff when we was in there, whether he was playing or not. It was just really good times that I don't know. I don't think I don't know.
It sounds like there was a big community spirit.
It was 100%, because it was all of us rolling together from a little record shop in Croydon, and people like our elders were all together, like say Artwork and John who owned the shop and my brother, and it was just a load of mates that ultimately none of us were friends outside of the record shop. So we all met in there, and it was like this thing. It's just hard to put your finger on why it was so special. It was just it's magical, really.
It just was. Do you reckon that community spirit and having those as your new peers inspired you to push your own boundaries musically and maybe socially?
Yeah, you do, because you don't realise at the time, but people are into music. And that sounds so stupid. Obviously, that's why they're in the record shop, but it's your local hub for creativity. Like, so it wasn't just one sort of music in there. So it's like, everyone's got just other tastes in music. So you start meeting more people, and then you start meeting people who you've got taste in outside of what you're doing, like musically. And it's like when I met Loafer, I went to his house because I knew he was into jungle because he was really a big fan of my brother. And like, I remember the first time we was meant to do a studio session, we sat there listening to like old metalheads and stuff. And it's, I don't know, it's like, it opened everything up socially, like meeting new people as well. That's a mad thing as well, meeting new friends after school. Like after school's over, like after you've left school, because that's where you sort of you make your friends for life in your head. So then and meeting people there, it was just for the first time meeting so many people you got something in common with. That was what opened everything up, because I was one of one other boy who said he was a DJ at my school, but he definitely weren't. Like, or that was into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're right. Like, I think a lot of people can relate to that. I can relate to that. I didn't really. My friends from school, I'm maybe friends with one or two of them now, but we were so different, and I didn't realise we were so different. I realised what I was into.
Yeah. Because you're not forced together. But you
kind of are.
You got to pick the best of a bad bunch.
Exactly.
But no, I'm only like. It's been probably in the last 5 years I've realised, going into the way my life turned after leaving school, where getting to travel and stuff and seeing the world, it makes you very separate. Like where I grew up, everyone was area based and had aspirations of literally moving up the road. Do you know what I mean? To like an area that's classed as having more money, and that's what they see as success. So like when I'm travelling and everything, people used to take the piss out of me for it. And I'm like, you're cool, you're still sitting in the same pub. Like, do you know what I mean?
Your mark of success is different from that.
Yeah. So I think that you don't realise that at the time, because you're doing the same thing, I guess. I don't know.
You're speaking of travelling, not very far, but let's talk about Glasgow.
Yeah.
Glasgow, the people love you in Glasgow, the Scots love you, and I'm guessing that you love Glasgow.
A lot of people think my entrance to Glasgow is via Jack Mossa, and it's actually not. I was playing up, I used to do the Arches and stuff when I was playing dubstep, and I used to do, I can't remember where the venue was. I think it was underneath a pub. It was the most ghetto layout ever. So dusty, we all come out with mud on us, because it was basically in a cellar. That was fucking mental gig. It had a big bowl of Bucky Punch on the table, just open to anyone. Like, it was just to help yourself. But I just read it like, it's a mad thing in Glasgow. You go, like, you see, you end up at an after party, everyone knows tunes. Everyone's got a really high bar of quality when it comes to music that you don't really find anywhere else. Yeah. Like everyone, just some random kid in the corner will put something on you.
That's the beautiful thing about an afters, is you get world-class DJs playing with random little kid music heads.
I'm talking from phones here. There weren't many places I went at the time where there was decks in the gaff. It was like it was a aux lead, but just saying, like, everyone's just on it and in tune, and I've found so many songs via Glasgow, but then also my relationship with Jack, Jasper, just when I started playing. Well, I met Jack when I was playing, so I was still playing dubstep. We met in afters. I think I've talked about the story before, but he tried to call me out. I asked him, I said, "Oh, right, mate, what's your name?" And he said he was the best DJ in Glasgow. And then it sort of led on to us sort of clashing almost. And he tried to pick 2 songs out and absolutely forgetting that I worked in a record shop that was specialised in garage. He tried to pick up 2 tricky garage songs and said, "Go and mix them 2 together." And I absolutely nailed it. And he was like, all right. And then there was that relationship. Me and Jack become really close, and just what came with that, all the crew, and just Sub Club. I think we did Magnetic Man back in the day. So it's just the vibe, everything. It's just they're just a cut above the rest. It's just for party, for chat. That's the other thing. The banter in any pub. You go into any pub in Scotland. It's just fucking fun. Like good laugh. Like you laugh. I leave just my stomach hurting. Like fuck, but.
You obviously love them.
There's a special thing. I've never felt the love anywhere in the world, at any point with dubstep, at any point just touring anywhere. I've never felt like the electricity. And when I go and do a show, they're always a special one. I've never had one where it's like, oh, that was all right. Like no matter, up and down the country as well. It's not just Glasgow, but it sort of started in Glasgow. But they're just, I don't know how I've done it, but I've managed to get like majority of the country on my side.
Why do you think they are so receptive to you? Like, why do you think they love Skream? Is it because of the dubstep thing, or what is it like? How do you? The only way I can put it, I think they see I'm enjoying myself as much as they are when I'm playing. Okay.
And it makes a massive difference if you went up there being coy,
head down,
so not having it. Like I'm hitting the ceiling harder than the crowd are when I'm in a sub club. It's like
it's a low ceiling.
It is. Yeah. I've got a bit under my stairs.
Oh, you got a bit.
I took a bit of the old ceiling. Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, I took a picture of it, and posted it online. Everyone's going, "That's full of asbestos." I was like,
move that way from the kids' area.
Yeah. Well, no, it's under the stairs. I've just sort of left it there, and I forgot about it. But it's. Yeah, I think that's just what it is, and I think they see the amount of time I spend up there. When I'm there, people know, and it's just. I don't know. I don't remember the point it happened where it was. I just got so much love there, and then like the last time I was up there, I was doing more and more cities each time, and it doesn't change the love. So it's really appreciated. Like it's not like it's the highlight of the year when I do my stint, when I do my run of Scotland.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see when you talk about it how special it is to you. It's a nice thing to see. So big up the Scots. These spaces like Sub Club, Glasgow, and Forward, London, all these spaces that you've grown from and that you've have influenced, obviously, you as a DJ. Do you think they've influenced you as a producer as well, and your transition through different genres?
Look, it's definitely a time where I've made tunes like. I've got a song called A Little Club on Jamaica Street that I made to play there at Sub Club, on Jamaica Street. But that was, put everything in it that I thought would tear it upside down in there. But I think when going from the transition from playing dubstep to everything else, basically, it was sort of a point of not like I was in a completely transitional stage, and I think I've spent more time on doing stuff that I wanted to do rather than expected. So I think it wasn't necessarily the clubs; it was more just feeling jumbled for the first time, and being like, I'm not particularly happy right now. Like, and I'm not meant to feel like that because I've chose to do something where I make the fucking decision. So. I wouldn't necessarily say the clubs, like they do more now. Once you've got your feet in, then like I'll definitely make a song for Amnesia, like Ibiza or whatever, like where playing, like from being a raver though, like going out, like I've been a raver in all of these clubs at some point, whether I was meant to be or not. Like there's a vibe, you pick up a vibe of a room, and then you're always going to try and match it. It's always like a challenge.
So you say it was more of a personal transition?
100%. Yeah.
We're on pause at the moment, obviously, and it's been a big old pause, and it's been a huge impact on the music industry. It's been a
pain in the arse.
It's been a massive pain in the arse for every industry, but the music industry especially. because nightlife is obviously something that can't coexist with a pandemic. And it's digital. Everything's digital right now for DJing and for music. Everything is streaming, and that can be a negative thing and it can also be a positive thing. So, Ollie, you've also always been known as a bit of a wild card. And that's why, and a no-filter character, which is why people love you. But it can also get you into trouble, and it has got you into trouble along the way. But how does it feel when you see negative comments come up on streams, especially when we are living in such a digital era at the moment, when negative comments come on your Twitter or on your streams? How do you process that?
Like Twitter, I don't like, depending on what time of the day it is, I couldn't normally give a toss. But if I've had a couple of drinks and I'm up in the studio or whatever, you can dominate the session. You end up sitting there arguing. But it's because I'm quite an argumentative fuck anyway. So there's nothing that really gets me down, really, because I've been about forever in music, and I grew up in the forum era where you're in harm's way all the time. Like there's nothing stopping it. So it don't really bother us. There's things that get to you. Some people would say some horrific things, like nasty. I grew up in pubs, so I can deal with banter or someone digging you out because it's just a part of that culture. But now it's like, it can avalanche into something completely different in the course of seconds.
There's different levels to it.
It's insane. Like it really does. Like the stream thing, when I haven't really had it. I've been loads of people on the last Party Boy stream. I don't have been calling me fat, but it's been fucking stuck in the house for over a year. So what do they think I've been doing?
I just wonder what they look like.
That's it. That's the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that don't really bother me. It's just like, if something's playing in your head already and someone points it out, like, not necessarily, I'm not talking about putting weight on, but I'm talking, if you wasn't, say you done a show and you weren't 100%, you know when it's not, you ain't played your best show. Like sometimes them little things, it could just be one tweet by someone who's got 4 followers, but it's like,
yeah. And I find for me, the negative comments are the ones that stick in my head. There could be 100 positive comments on there, but one person has taken it on themselves to be an arsehole. Yeah. And that resonates over and over again in your head. You
know, people say don't go on social media. It's like, I've said this from the start of the Twitters and whatever. Imagine someone is speaking about you in the next room that you're in, and you can't, and like, you're going to tell me you're not going to listen if you know they're talking about it. And I've always felt a bit like that, because you can't.
That's such a good analogy.
It's always good. It's always good and well saying, just don't look. But it's like,
how can you not?
You need to know what's happening to a degree, especially now where everything's, how many comments have you got and how many likes have you got and whatnot. You need to keep an eye on stuff, and it's like, this is more popular than this is more negative than this, and this. So it's impossible to stay out of it. You can pay someone to do it for you, but you're still going to look. That is because you want to know.
100%. That analogy of someone else talking about you in the other room is really
It was the first way when there was a point when I was on the dubstep forums and stuff. Well, the dubstep forum, it would be like, I'd be replying in that, like I'd started using it when it started, and it was very much, I was on a personal level with all the users, like to a degree. Like I'd just speak to people, like put random comments, and they'd be like, "Fuck, I can't believe Skream's in here." But that was where I was from. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's just how I see it. Then when my brother used to go, "Oh, don't get annoyed about it." I'm like, why the fuck would you not get annoyed about it? Then I was a bit more fiery then. Like, I'm a bit more mellowed out. Everyone would disagree, but like it's you just can't help it.
Ollie, you're a father.
I am.
You are a father. You've got a couple of kids now.
A few, yeah.
One of them's, how many kids you got?
Oh, 3.
You've got 3 kids. One of them's 10 years old.
Yeah.
And you must be trying to educate your 10-year-old on the world that you've brought him into right now. Is he interested in music? And if he did develop a passion for a career in music, then what advice would you want him to have from you?
He's very timid. Like, he's not like me when I was his age, so he's like, I hate the thought of anything like getting had over or just being around cunts, basically. And you do, like, I've been about for quite a few different stages of A&R's people and the way people are. Like I remember, like when I was 14, 15, or say 15, 16, you had to get surrounded by A&Rs who thought they were clever, and I'd end up basically leaving them in a pickle. Yeah, but I was just advanced. I've been advanced socially since I was really little. Like I've knocked about my dad used to take me over everything. My dad's like a big legend, so like I was sort of made for all of this. And if I weren't, I could probably have seen me not being able to do it anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd hate him to my son to go through like the guy having the big bang and then everything after, and the bits in between. Is you got to look at it as you have to look at it, you still love it, and unless I know he loved it, I'd swear against it, because you've got to risk. Okay. It has to be your life. There's no dipping your toe in. It's like you go for it full throttle, as I do with everything, go full throttle. But it's like I'd love him to get into it. Like my daughter, it seemed like my 18-month-old daughter was the one she's obsessed with music, because it's insane. Like we'll be shocking out in the back of the car, but then we'll stop if she don't like a song.
Really?
Yeah.
What does she like? What's her favourite genre?
Anything sort of 4/4 based. Baby Shark's are number one in the playlist. but like she loves coming in the studio, but I'd have to sort of keep her out because I smoke in there. It's ventilated. I have it. The first thing that we sorted out when I sorted my studio was having a two-way system so I could smoke in there. Priorities, right? But she loves coming in, and she's obsessed with A sharp key for some reason. I let her play, hit the keyboard and that. But Jesse's never really been, like my son's never really been like it. But we had a keyboard in the front room the other day. It stops Olivia from drawing all over the walls. But he's playing random melodies, and I was like, I said to my missus, I was like, he's hitting the right notes there. So then, I don't know, love him to get into it. Like, look, he's 9, so I'm hoping he doesn't want to be a gamer forever. Although, if he hits one of them like 40 million jackpots that kids are getting from Fortnite, then yeah, crack on. But the advice would be, I think, for everything, if you don't love it, don't do it.
That's good
But
advice.
I know that's not the option for most people in life.
For real. If you are young and excited by the idea of producing in particular, but you don't have access or money for a snazzy studio or a lot of expensive kit, what would you get started on? What advice would you give to somebody who really wants to produce but just can't afford to do it properly?
Well, look, the thing is, I couldn't afford a studio. We were the start of crack software. Me and Benny had crack versions of Fruity Loops, and that's true. That is fact. Like, we wasn't aware of any other bedroom producer. I know like a few years later in life, Silky from Antisocial Crew, he was making stuff around that time, but he's from West London, so we wouldn't have known about him. But it's doable. It's doable more than ever now to do without a budget. You can get multiple free software. Like now, it's mental. Like kids, like with YouTube, obviously, it's a free resource. Like I'm looking at how to iron properly on YouTube and that now.
YouTube University.
It's insane.
I've seen, Steve
If
Lacey.
I don't know anything, I go to YouTube.
Yeah, 100.
It's the best teacher I've ever had.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've heard Steve Lacey from the internet has produced like a whole album's worth of tracks off GarageBand on his phone.
GarageBand, I know Erica Badu, and there's a lot of, Erica Badu, I can't remember any names now, I've just said there's loads of, but it's like GarageBand has been a one for a lot of people. I wouldn't touch it, like, I only know what I use, do you know what I mean? But yeah, GarageBand, so that comes with fucking hundreds of instruments and stuff, so it's easier than ever now to make music. But then what I've noticed with COVID is it's in the amount of love like people put into it. Like I think my one thing with like clubs not being there is people aren't writing music for the weekend anymore, and I think that's a really important thing.
I think it's a beautiful thing that the
No.
music that's come out of this pandemic has
Unreal,
changed.
like absolutely unreal.
Yeah, it's been beautiful, and it's also
Quality
music
bar is high.
it's music
right
for a
now.
different purpose.
Yeah.
So, Ollie, you do talks to GCSE students about the importance of business management as a DJ.
When I left school, everyone I knew went into building work, and never questioned why getting a quarter of your money taken, and they don't really care because it's just you're not looking at it, you're looking at your outcome
It's
and
the
whatever.
way it is,
But
and it's accepted.
I wasn't prepared to be as young as I was, to get as much money as I was for a certain period, and it's just not right that you're not aware. And most people don't question where their money goes. I can't remember who I approached it with, but it won't go anywhere. There should be a whole lesson on it.
It's not in the curriculum.
There should still be a whole lesson on it. Right, like business studies, when I was at school, was just sitting at a fucking shit computer, learning about a sleeping partner. Like, do you know what I mean? If you invest money into a company and not
Like a silent partner.
yeah,
Right.
But it was called, it was a sleeping partner. Yeah.
Maybe they changed the name.
Maybe
it
I've
sounds
got it wrong,
confusing.
but I've always had it as sleeping partner. But it's still not. I just don't get why.
Why they don't teach it?
I just like it's more useful than sex studies. Really.
I mean, they're both probably as useful as each other.
Well, what I mean now, like
Well,
you
things-
learn sex studies on
on
your phone
YouTube.
any given time of the day.
And also, sexual health is something that's very prominent in our media culture now, but still no one's teaching us about how to calculate your tax. And I feel like, for me, I got an A-star GCSE maths, right? I can't do maths for shit now.
But what, like,
But
most
because
but what
they
I'm
taught
saying
me
is,
stuff
see,
I
most of the
don't
time,
use.
What noises, like, you see, how many times a day do you use fractions?
Never a lot, actually. No, a lot.
Oh,
no?
do you? Yeah, no.
Yeah, but you must do, like, say if you're calculating, like, your budget for the, I don't know,
yeah,
I don't do that.
No, you don't do it. I know
Trying
you're
to
talking
act like I do.
shit. I was just thinking that. Like, I was going to get into it then, but...
How much was my zip card? What here?
Yeah, but you don't mean like it's
Yeah.
It's like it's a massive priority. But as far as I'm aware, it's still not. Well, my son won't be learning it because he's 9, but I think they should be learning it from there.
So let's talk about the future. Production-wise, obviously it's been a weird time for all of us, but we were saying earlier how so much amazing music has come out of this period. Music for a different purpose. People are producing things they probably didn't have the time to before. And we're all in a totally different space in life, a different pace in life as well. What kind of music can we expect to hear from you in the future?
Just loads. I can't go into too much yet, can I? Well, look, Scott pointed out, it's like 200 tunes since the start of lockdown. Not all, that's not finished, mixed and everything, but there's more than that now. Like, there's an absurd amount of music gets made in my studio. The same way as it did before everything took off. And I'm not on the road constantly, which I'm gonna miss if, fingers crossed, everything goes back to normal. But I'm 100% gonna prioritise my time, because it's been quite special in the studio during lockdown. Last year I was doing a lot of pop remixes for stuff to go on the radio. I've already had a year's worth of releases from my Essential mix, which come out 1st of January last year. Then there's everything in between. There's a 140 project that's going to drop, like a dubstep project. Out the blue.
When was the last time you put 140 out?
I don't know. It's 9 years. 9 years. 109.
That's 9 years.
No, but it's like it ain't saying it's just sort of happened. I think writing, been doing what else I did, the Lila Drew remix, Georgia remix, something for Long Flax, which were all on like an 80s. 80s pop versus sort of Italians do it better vibe. Then I put the classics out. I put the classics releases on Bandcamp, which were was spanned from 2002 to about 2007. And I think went loads of house stuff, loads of techno stuff, loads of everything. And then I just thought it was the only ground I hadn't covered during lockdown to keep myself sane, let's say, was the stuff that sort of made us. And I don't know, there was just a point, I don't know what the point was, where I was like, I always fucked about it was always sort of late nights. I thought, let me see if I can still do it. And that sounds stupid, but out of a sync with something so much, you sort of stop doing it, and you forget your tricks that you did in the production.
Like when you haven't driven a car in years, and you get back and you're like, can I still do this?
Yeah, and it's the feeling I'm getting about DJing again. I know I can do it.
I think a lot of DJs are feeling that though.
It's going out and being able to read a room when you've not read a room. Hardly read a book, let alone fucking room. But yeah, the 140 thing, it's been very enjoyable. And it sounds like me. But everything coming out, we've got the label starting, the new I Feel label, which is I've still got the of Unsound Mind label, but that's purely going to be for up and coming artists and people who don't really get a break. But I Feel is going to be it's 100% my music with people who inspire us, or I'm massive fans of doing a remix. Remix is like an A and B tracks, which is good, with more or less got the fucking year planned out for them.
Good.
So there's a lot going on. I'm just looking, this year I'm coming out of the traps absolutely firing. Like, I just want to be like, just absolutely nail it.
Wicked.
There's a sort of space that I feel that I've wanted to get to, which I feel like I can get to. I took a lot of time out I didn't produce as much when I started doing house and techno stuff, I think, because I was out finding my way and making new friends and etc. And I've been for a lot where everything was DJ based, really, which I loved and enjoyed, and it really honed in on my senses of crate digging. But I think production is my strongest point, and I think lockdown, I would never take lockdown away. That production and getting the family time, it made us realise how much I missed when my son was younger, really, because it's all the stuff that happened with my daughter now. I'm like, I don't remember Jessie doing that, and like you're like, fuck, was I here? Like you feel like you see everything, but it's going to be hard to get back on the road full time. Well, hopefully, it's fucking fingers crossed. I'll probably take it to it like a duck to water, but it's made you learn a lot over the last year and a bit.
Yeah.
I think about yourself. I think about people around you. I think just home life, everything. So it puts everything into a bit of perspective, doesn't it?
It's going to be a big transition again, like the reverse transition. Let's talk about gaming and VR because we're here in honour of TDV, Tobacco Docs Virtual, and both you and I are playing in this virtual club that's probably essentially our first gig of 2021, which is going to be in a virtual realm. Virtual reality in gaming has been something that's been somewhat of a saviour for a lot of people during this period, and has also been so developed alongside music in this period, which I think you can either see as a bad thing or as a good thing. I think it's a great thing, to be honest.
It's a great thing, yeah.
I really do. How do you feel about it?
I haven't done much during lockdown, like on a public level, so I'm not really that up to date with the advances. Like, I know I've been known VR just from some weird after parties, but it seems like that my son's obsessed with gaming, and I've definitely spent at least $11.99 a week for something to do with gaming, do you know what I mean? But it's something that's kept people happy during a time of absolute sadness. So it can't be a bad thing. I just hope it doesn't. I don't think people are gonna, like, there's always, I think there's this thing of, why do you need to go out if you can have it at home?
We don't want it to replace the tangibility of being in a club.
But the thing is, I completely understand the fact of if you can just be at home with your pals, like people you select to be around, why the fuck do you ever need to go out again?
But that's bad news for the nightlife industry.
It's terribly bad news.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just like in my head. There's going to be this just huge mad buzz of like just people going mad, mental when we go back out.
Yeah, I'm almost a little bit scared.
And which
about my first rave back.
you can't. Magical moments of nightlife, like making new friends in the smoking area, or just, I don't know, just that like that. That's a great example of it, like making new friends.
Hearing a tune for the first time in a crowd.
Yeah,
it's different.
Yeah, get a buzz off just that electricity, which I don't think can ever be replicated. I want to check out the VR. Like, I haven't done it. I've only used it for stupid fucking dinosaurs, like living with dinosaurs and shit. But it's.
I want to try that one.
It was like a really early thing. Someone got it for my son for Christmas. It was fucking awful. But I could look about and move about.
Yeah.
It was smashed my head on doors a couple of times. But it's like we did a test for it for, I think it was a Magnetic Man show or Jesus show or something. They were testing it out in the night, and I think Artwork fell off stage or something happened, and he was testing it. It was like the Steve Davies. Have you seen the Steve Davies when he's playing snooker with the VR on? And it was that realistic. He goes to lean on the snooker table and falls over.
No.
You must have seen it.
You've seen it, yeah.
Must
I want to see it.
It's like an absolute belter.
Can we cut the clip?
It's not Steve Davies. It's
Who's it?
no. Who's the mad drinker?
Poker player.
Snooker player. No, snooker player. Mad drinker. Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Okay.
He goes to lean on the table and hits the deck. It's one of the funniest things you've ever seen.
I can't see that one.
But it would be good if you could incorporate the two and everyone using VR in an actual club with the people in front of them, but also with mad imagery around it. Mm-hmm. But you could still see if everything was tagged maybe, and you could see everyone in front of you, so you're not all walking into each other.
If it
would be a mad sight to see.
If they could coexist, I think that would be the ideal scenario.
It'd be great, but then at the same time, the VR stuff, look, some people can't get to clubs and whatever. So it becomes more inclusive. It's never been thought about before, about people who can't rave.
And it also opens it up to a global audience as well.
Yeah, but I think some people's raving days have been taken away from them for one reason or another. I think I'm surprised it hadn't been thought about before. For people who can't get out of the house or can't whatever, it would should be a belter.
Well, I've just got one last thing to ask you about, and that's Banjo Kazooie.
Yeah.
Because earlier on, before we started the interview, we were talking about afters, and we were talking about gaming, and how gaming and music go quite hand in hand sometimes. Do you want to tell us a story about Banjo Kazooie?
Banjo Kazooie, it was a game on the N64, and there was something about the soundtracks on N64, and it turns out there was the majority of it was a composer from Edinburgh. I've only found that out after for things like this situation. But it was so it's part of an afters playlist that I made. It's just from a very interesting time when me and Jack Master had an apartment in 2014 in Ibiza. Everyone would be like, just even hearing that was a possibility, like an existence of us having a gaff together. It was eventful, and there's only so much I can say, but the Banjo Kazooie soundtrack absolutely changed the game for what's possible.
And that's on the Afters playlist.
It's on the Afters playlist, along with a load of other belters. From that summer, it started that the majority of that playlist is from that the gaff we had in the summer. And they're all they're tunes that got played at least, not the Banjo Kazooie because it's about 2 and a bit hours, but it was like Luther Vandross, Give Me the Reason, and Dixie's Midnight Runners, Come On Eileen. They were at least like when the sun was coming up, because we had this, you could see out into like the balcony was in the front room sort of thing, and they're all proper Afters playlists. The Afters playlists, to be fair, have done they do alright. Like I know, especially with the Scottish fans. There's like Scott Brown Now Is the Time, which is obviously a Scottish anthem, and it's, yeah, there's only so much you can say about the Banjo Kazooie. I didn't play it, but it was a staple N64 game. There was Banjo Kazooie, GoldenEye, Mario Kart was the big one. But
GoldenEye, I remember a lot with the split screen.
Yeah, GoldenEye was like, but it turns out it was the same composer, as far as I'm aware, and a guy from Edinburgh. I follow him on Twitter. We actually were speaking recently. I asked him to do a remix, and it freaked him out. But yeah, it's just it enhanced the party very much. So, especially if we listen to the entire soundtrack, like
the 8-hour one.
So it was as if you're going through the games and going through the levels. Sorry. So each level has a theme, and there was just a really funny moment with the ghoulish scene. Completely changed the vibe. In a good way, in a great way.
Big up Banjo Kazooie, thanks for the memories.
We was pretending to walk downstairs at one point. Pretending.
Skream, Ollie, I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much, my love.
For having a chat with me today. It's been lovely to see you again.
Always, yeah.
Thank you for...
Hopefully it won't be so long again until the next time.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I'll see you in 6 years, mate. No, joking. We'll see each other soon. I'll see you on the virtual dance floor. Good luck for your set.
I need a VR kit.
Yes, so do I. I've been thinking that. How are we going to experience it? I think you can still do it in a computer format, right?
But you can do it, I think you can do it on your phone, do it on everything.
So if you're watching TDV, can we please be gifted 2 virtual headsets? Thank you very much. You've been watching Take Note TV. Bye.